In this video, I'm going to share my experience of working at Greggs as a team member, where you are required to assist customers, keep the store clean, unload deliveries, bake hot bakes, and promote offers, and prepare sandwiches. So it pretty much required you to be a jack of all trades. You have to be knowledgeable and prepared to carry out any task that the manager or team leader asks you to do, and you always have to work with efficiency, so knowing what the best practice is to fulfill any required task. Some people would prefer certain tasks over others, so sometimes a team leader would compromise with that, and maybe if you didn't like prepare sandwiches, you could be put in a till more regularly. Conversely, if you didn't find customers particularly pleasing to engage with, you would be sent to prepare food. But typically during a shift, particularly if you were serving customer, it is very important that you also keep an eye on the stock levels, so particularly of the hot products such as the pasties, sausage rolls, steak, chicken, and vegetable and sausage and bean melt. These were all the varieties on sale, and you would have to keep an eye out on that. And if there was an alarmingly lower level of stock, you would have to bake new ones. So it requires you to definitely keep your concentration high, your level of focus, and your level of store management, which typically you have to pick up on a job as you go along. But eventually, it becomes more natural for you to do so. The staff ages were anywhere between teenagers in college to more mature woman. Mostly that was the case, and you just have to be prepared for a higher level of engagement with customers. They would constantly flow in throughout the day. Obviously Greggs has stores and shops in very busy locations, so universities, train stations, bus stations, shopping centers, airport, everywhere where you can think of a high footfall, you most likely gonna find a Greggs nowadays, because it's expanded a lot, particularly in the last 10 years. So it's a really prestigious and well-known brand now, within the UK especially, and people seem to love it. And obviously, because they was so busy, I would sometimes have to work multiple stores, particularly if there was a staff shortage or if there was a high influx of customers. And I was happy to do that because I was only contracted part-time. So if I could make extra money working more hours, I would definitely say, hell yes, I'm willing to do that. Because in most stores you would find that the staff were very friendly, were very welcoming. Even though I wasn't, the most, open person, because I'm more of an introvert myself. I found myself comfortable because you always have the support of the staff. They always smile, encourage you for the most part. So it's okay to work for them. The only downside, from my personal perspective, was the hours and the pay, and also maybe the job itself, because sometimes it will get really, really busy. So particularly in the morning, if you have to prepare breakfast to customers, some of them would come in with multiple orders for people, so you would have to take time to listen to every single one, every single order information, because particularly if you were doing breakfast rolls, you would have to ask, for example, what condiments they wanted, and sometimes you would find that there will be multiple instructions, so you really have to be able to be receptive to that information, and if not, let the customer know, can you repeat it? And 9 times out of 10 they would be happy to do that, as long as you don't make an error and the quality was what the customer expected of you, then you will be fine. And you would also have to try to be friendly with everybody, so even if the customer was a bit rude, not to get not to be adversely impacted by it yourself. Always try to keep that level of professionalism and high level of engagement and alertness to their needs. And you would also get regulars, so you would always, sometimes it would be beneficial if you remembered some of the orders. For example, there was some of them that, for example, wanted the grind from the bacon to be removed, or also would like a dollop of cold milk in their hot coffee. So if if you could remember that, they would almost always appreciate it. But obviously, different shifts require different responsibilities. So in the morning, you would have to be prepared to prepare the store for opening, so unload all the stocks from the delivery vans, and particularly the fresh cakes. You would have to put them on display, make sure that the pricing was correct, and then for the breakfast you would have to prepare the bacon, the sausage, the omelette, and you would have to cook it, and then you would have to place them in a warm section so that they could stay warm, because the customer wanted their the ingredients in their breakfast rolls to be warm. And you would also have to cook some bakes. Now some bakes went on sale early, so for example sausage rolls, you would have to put them out as soon as the store opened, and some of them you would have to pack, because some people like to buy packs as you would if in a supermarket. And there was regular offers, so they regularly run 4 for the price of 3, so you would have to remember all the promotional aspect. Although now with the app, most people who are tech savvy, or even those who just engage with the app, they can find a lot of offers there. So encourage people to download the app. It was definitely a bonus. And obviously Greggs always like to introduce some new innovative offerings in their product range. And obviously depending on the season, they had, for example, during Christmas they have their famous festive bake, and that would also typically be very popular with customers. But overall I would say one of the benefits of working at Greggs is that you really learn how to manage a store, and that's a very important life skill, because if you can manage a store, then it means that you're a pretty responsible and reliable person, and you can prove, and if you can also deal with people effectively, make sure that they are happy. That's a great selling point as well, that many organizations are look for people who know how to impress customers. So if you're somebody who can do that well, you will definitely be somebody well on track to build a successful career in a service oriented industry, which most of the British economy is based on. So anyway, let me know if you worked at Greggs, if you agree with what I've said, and if you share the same sentiments of the experience that I had. And also, if you're planning to apply, if you have any questions, I'm also happy to answer them. I hope I covered most topics with a degree of valuable detail. And if you need any more clarity, please let me know in the comment section, which I will be looking out for.